Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be doing a video based off the latest polls in the 2024 cycle for every single state, but we're going to be doing a little bit different than most channels are. Instead of just getting the poll and slapping it onto the state, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the current poll and then look at what the aggregate was in 2020 and see what the polling miss was, and then actually apply that polling error to each individual state as of right now to see what the polling errors from 2020 would say the results currently are as of right now. And so if you guys do enjoy the video, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell so you don't miss another video that I post, and make sure to follow my Twitter and join the Discord in the description down below so we can talk to all of you guys. Without further ado, let's get right into this video. And so pretty much guys, as of right now, I'm going to be doing this in alphabetical order. So if you look at the state of Alabama, right, in 2020, the former president was leading by 19 points. And if you look at the 2024 cycle, he's currently ahead in the latest poll by 20. And if you look at this, he's roughly ahead by the same amount. And you could see that in 2020, he ended up winning the state by 25.5. So if he's ahead by now 20, he's practically going to win the state by the same amount that he won it by in the previous cycle. If you were to go over here and do Alaska, you can see that in 2020, Trump was only up by 7.7 points. Donald Trump ended up winning the state by 10.1, giving him about a 3 point, polling miss against him. And right now he's ahead by 12 points as of March 2nd. And so that would actually put the state in the safe Republican column. If we were to go to the next state and go to Arizona, which is a crucial swing state, in the latest poll, according to Rasmussen, he's ahead by 7. And according to Emerson College, he's ahead by 6. So it's practically the same. But if you look at the latest poll, he's ahead by 7 points. In 2020, the aggregate had him down by 2.6, and he ended up losing the state by 0.3, which is about almost a little bit over a 2 point miss. So basically, if you were to get this lead and apply a 2 point miss in his direction, Donald Trump would actually end up winning the state by about 9 points or so as of right now, according to the polls. If we were to go to Arkansas, Donald Trump is ahead by 32 points. In 2020, he was ahead by 22 points and ended up winning the state by 27, giving him a 5 point advantage on election day. And so if you were to look at this, he would theoretically be winning the state of Arkansas by 37 percentage points as of right now. If you go to the state of California, there is a 19-point lead for Biden, according to FAU, Florida Atlantic University. And if you look at the polling lead in 2020, Joe Biden was ahead by 27 points. Joe Biden actually won the state by 2 points, so polling actually underestimated him there, which is pretty interesting at the end of the day. And actually, well, actually, wait a minute. Okay, no, never mind. I believe that the poll was actually, oh, look, the polling was actually pretty spot on for the most part. So there actually is no polling miss there. So theoretically, as of right now, according to the latest poll, Donald Trump would be losing the state by just 19 percentage points when you apply a polling miss. If you go to the state of Colorado, the latest poll actually has Biden only up by 4 percentage points with likely voters. And if you go over here, Joe Biden was ahead by 12.5 and he won the state by 13.5. So at that point, that would literally put the state at only a D+5 margin for the current president as of right now, which is a lot lower than I expected. If you go to the state of Connecticut, Donald Trump is losing the state by 9 points according to Emerson College. If you go to 2020, Joe Biden was leading the aggregate by 26 points. He ended up winning the state by only 20. So theoretically, if you do a 6 point, shift in Trump's favor, you know, Biden's actually only winning Connecticut by 3 points as of right now, if you apply that miss. If you go to the state of Delaware, there are no polls from 2020, but if you look, Donald Trump is losing it by about 24 points. He lost it by about, 19 in 2020. And if you look here in Delaware in 2016, he lost it by 11. So theoretically, we are going to have to put it in the safe Dem category because there is no polling out of the state as of right now. If we go to the District of Columbia, there is also no polling, but based out of previous results, it's probably going to be a safe Democratic district. And if we go to Florida, which is going to be interesting, the latest poll has Trump up by 11. When you include Kennedy, by the way, he's up by 11 percentage points. And actually, if you look at Haley, she's actually down by 5, which is very interesting as well. And so, Donald Trump, when you actually look at the scenario here, if you look at 2020, Biden was actually ahead in the aggregate by 2.5, and Trump ended up winning it by 3.4. So it was almost a 5 point polling miss from 538. And if he's ahead by this much, he would theoretically be winning Florida by 16 points, because you see here he ended up winning it by 3.4% in 2020. So that would actually put him in the safe category as of right now. If you were to look at the state of Georgia, which is another crucial swing state, the latest poll has Trump up by 3 percentage points in the state. And if we go to the RCP aggregate, Biden was actually ahead by 1.2 in the state, and he actually ended up only winning it by about 0.2 ish, roughly. So it's about a point miss in Donald Trump's favor. So that actually puts the state in the lean Republican column for Donald Trump. If you go to Hawaii, there are no polls out of here, but Biden had a really big lead and only won the state by 29. And based out of polling data, not out of polling data, but based out of primary data, it's probably still going to be safe, but it's probably going to be a lot closer than it's been before. Donald Trump gets 40% in Hawaii, do not be surprised, especially after the whole fires and everything that's happened over there, and because of primary turnout. Donald Trump got 3 times as many votes as Joe Biden did in their primaries, respectively, which is pretty insane. If we go to the state of Idaho, Donald Trump is ahead by 29 points as of right now. He won it by 30 in 2020, and the aggregate only had him up by 18. So that is a very big miss. That is a 12-point miss. So theoretically, Donald Trump is winning the state by 41 points as of right now. If you go to the state of Illinois, Biden has a 10-point lead, and the latest poll was from October. They need to do more polling there because it's been forever. The latest poll is from October, and he's up ahead by 10. And if you look at the aggregate here, Biden was, ahead by 16, and he ended up actually winning it by 17. So the polls actually underestimated him there. So in this case, he'd actually be winning the state of Illinois by a likely margin. And it's quite funny that Illinois is actually more Democratic than Connecticut in this scenario, unless they did vote. Yeah, look, see? Connecticut is voting to the right of Illinois in this scenario, which I actually think is pretty interesting. If we go to the state of Indiana, Donald Trump is ahead by 21 points. Basically, he was only ahead by 9 points, and he ended up winning it by 16. So basically, he's winning it by a safe margin as of right now, according to polling. If we go to the state of Iowa, Donald Trump was only ahead by a point, and he ended up winning it by 8.2 points. And right now, the state has him up 15. So if you were to apply that polling miss, Donald Trump would be winning the state of Iowa by like 25 points. If we come to Kansas, we can see Donald Trump is up by 16. If you look at the polling aggregate, he was up in the state by 12 points, and he ended up winning it by 14. So he was underestimated there. So that would make that a safe Republican state. If we go to the state of Kentucky, Donald Trump is up by 28 points according to Emerson College. And if you look at the state here, Donald Trump won by 25. And if you look at the aggregate, he was only ahead by 15. And so that's a 10-point miss, give or take. And so at that point, you could basically say he's winning Kentucky by about 38 percentage points. If you look at the state of Louisiana, Trump is up by 15 in 2020. He was only leading by 20 in the aggregate, and he ended up winning the state by only 18 points. So if we were to go here and look at his polling lead, theoretically, he actually gets overestimated by 2 points. So that puts Louisiana in the likely Republican column, believe it or not. And if we go to the next state over here, which is going to be the state of Maine, Donald Trump has a 6 point lead as of right now in the state, according to the latest poll from February 14th, as well as Maine's second and first congressional districts having polls as well. Joe Biden was ahead by 13 points in the state nationwide. He was ahead by 20 in the first district, and in the second district, he was ahead by 2 points. And if you look at this right now in the Maine at large, Biden only won it by 9 in 2020, so that place underestimated him. So theoretically, that is about a 4 point miss. And so theoretically, Donald Trump would actually be winning Maine by 10 percentage points in this scenario. For the first district, Biden was ahead by 20. He ended up winning it by 23. So the latest poll currently has him only up by 8, but it would still be an 11-point win, still in the likely category for Biden as of right now. And if we go to the second district, Trump is up by 20 points as of right now. And here, Biden was ahead by 2.8, and Donald Trump ended up winning it by 7.4, which is basically a 9-point miss. So Donald Trump would apparently be winning the second district by 29 percentage points, which is a humongous victory for the former president. If we were to go to the next state, which is Maryland, there is one poll out of here. Donald Trump's only down in the state by 15 points when you include all third party voters. And if you look at the aggregate, Biden was ahead by 31 and he ended up winning it by 33. So Biden would only be winning the state by 17 points as of right now. And if you go over here to Massachusetts, Biden is currently up in the state by 25 points according to FAU. And if you look at the aggregate over here, Donald Trump was up by 36 in Massachusetts and only won it by 33. So if you look at the latest poll, Donald Trump is only going to be losing Massachusetts by 22 points as of right now. If we go to the state of Michigan, a critical swing state, you can see North Star Opinion Research has the state tied as of right now with 600 voters, 600 likely voters. And if you look at the aggregate here, the aggregate had him up by 7.9. Biden was up by 7.9 percentage points as of right now. And if you look at the state here, it voted for Biden by 2.8. So that's about a 5-point miss in the aggregate as of right now. So theoretically, that puts the state of Michigan in the likely category for the former president if you shift the latest poll for him based off the polling error. Minnesota, two polls came out with Biden up by 8 percentage points. In 2020, he was leading the aggregate by 9.2, and he only won it by 7.1. And so at that point, you could say that Biden is only up in the state by 6 percentage points as of right now. If you were to go to Mississippi, Donald Trump's up by 18. He was leading by 615 or basically 16 in the aggregate. He won it by 16.5. So it was a half point thing. So basically, he's winning the state by a safe margin as of right now. If we were to go to Missouri, you can see that Donald Trump is up by 18. He was only leading by 8 in the average as of right now. And if you look at the real result, he won it by 15. And so that practically ends up putting the state in the safe Republican column for Donald Trump as of right now. If you go to Montana, Trump is actually only up in the aggregate by 4.4%. And right now, the latest poll has him up by 20 points. And if you look at the result, he ended up winning by 16. So that puts Montana comfortably in the safe Republican column for the former president as of right now. It actually puts him in Wyoming margins for him in the state as of right now. And if we were to go to the next state, we could see in Nebraska at large 8 plus 18 in 2020. He was only ahead in the state. Biden was actually ahead in Nebraska's at large, and he ended up losing it by quite a significant amount. And so that puts this safe, puts this and this safe, and that actually puts Nebraska second in the likely Republican column, by the way, because of that humongous polling miss in the state. If we were to go to the next state, look at Nevada, which is another crucial swing state, Biden won it by 5.3 in 2020, or the aggregate had him ahead by 5.3. He only won it by 2.4, so it's a 3-point miss in favor of Biden. And as of right now, Trump is leading Biden in the state by 10 points. So that ends up putting Nevada at a 13-point win for the former president as of right now. New Hampshire has Biden up by 3 percentage points according to the latest poll from January. And if you look at the aggregate, Biden was ahead by 11 points. He ended up winning it by 7, which is about a 4-point miss. And so if you were to apply that, Trump would actually be up in the state by a lean Republican margin. He'd actually be up in the state by a point as of right now. In the state of New Jersey, there is no new polling data, but based out of previous results, we could probably say as of right now, it would be likely, but because of the fact there is no polling, I am going to have to put it safe as of right now based off of previous results. If we were to go to New Mexico, Biden is only up by 8 points in the state as of right now. And if you look at the polling aggregate from 2020, Biden was ahead by 11 in the state and he only won it by 10. And so it's a point miss in Donald Trump's favor. And so that puts the state of Colorado in a likely likely Democratic margin for the current president as of right now. New York is interesting because in the latest poll, Donald Trump's actually down by 10 percentage points in the state. And if you look here, the aggregate had Biden up by 29. And if you look at the real result, he won by 23. And so that's a 6 point miss in favor of Biden. And so if you were to apply that here, Donald Trump would actually only be losing the state of New York by only 4 percentage points as of right now. And if you go to the state of North Carolina, Donald Trump is up by 5 in the latest, likely survey poll. He's up by 5 percentage points. And if you look at the aggregate in 2020, Biden was up by 1.8. He ended up winning it by 1.3, which is roughly a 3 point miss. So that puts North Carolina in the likely Republican margin for the former president. If we go to the state of North Dakota, Donald Trump's up by 37. And if you look at the aggregate, Donald Trump was only up by 17. And he ended up winning the state by 33 points. So this puts North Dakota in like the plus 50s for Donald Trump, which is just insane. If we go to the state of Ohio, Donald Trump was up in the aggregate by 0.8%, and he ended up winning it by 8%, which is basically a 7 point miss. And Donald Trump is up in the state by 9 points, according to the latest registered voters poll. And so that puts the state in the safe Republican column for the former president. That actually puts him at a 16 point win in the state of Ohio. Now, if we were to go to Oklahoma, Donald Trump's up by 28 percentage points. And if you look, he was up by 23 in the aggregate in 2020. He won it by 33. So that, self explanatory, puts the state in the safe Republican column. If you go to Oregon as of right now, Biden was up by 21 points in the aggregate. He only won the state by 16. And right now, the latest poll has Biden up by 15. And so that puts the state in a likely margin for the current president as of right now. If we go to the state of Pennsylvania, funny enough, Haley's actually down 20 points when you include the third party candidates. That's an insane margin in the state. Biden plus 20 in Pennsylvania. Biden is up by 1 in the latest poll, including all the third party candidates. However, if you look at the aggregate, Biden was up in the state by 4.7 and won it by 1.2, which is a 3 point miss in the aggregate. And so basically, Donald Trump would be up in the state by 2 points as of right now, according to our latest poll. If you look at the state of Rhode Island, Donald Trump is only down by 17 points. Rhode Island was a 20 point win here. And in 2020, the aggregate had Biden ahead by 30. So that's a 10 point miss in favor of Biden. And so if you look at this, that puts the state literally in a +7 margin for Biden. That's like barely anything. If you go to South Carolina, Donald Trump is currently up by 14 in the state. If you look in 2020, the aggregate 7.1, and if you look at the real result, 11.7. So when you shift that over, that does actually put the state in the safe Republican column for the former president. If you go to South Dakota, Donald Trump was up by 15 in the polling aggregate. He ended up winning it by 26, and right now he's up by 29 according to the latest poll from late January, and so that puts him in the safe Republican column there. If we were to go to Tennessee, Donald Trump's up by 25. He was only up by 13 in 2020, ended up winning the state by 23. So when you do the shift, that puts Tennessee, straight ahead into the safe Republican column. If you go to Texas, Donald Trump's ahead in the aggregate by 1. He won it by 5.6, and the latest poll has Donald Trump up by 9. So that actually ends up putting him barely under a safe margin in the state of Texas. He's going to win it by about 14 points as of right now. If we go to Utah, the state of Utah has Trump up by only 8 percentage points. And in 2020, he was only leading the aggregate by 9.8, and he ended up winning the state by 20. So at that point, that puts the state in the safe Republican column, but only barely. If you look at Vermont, Joe Biden was ahead by 38 points. He won it by 35. And right now, the state is a 31 point lead for the current president. So that still leaves the state in the safe Republican column, but under a 30 point margin, which is very interesting. If we go to the state of Virginia, Biden is up by 6 points according to the latest FAU poll with the likely voters. Biden is up by 6 points. However, the aggregate had Biden winning it by 11.8. He won it by 10.1. So because of that, that makes the state a likely margin for the current president as of right now. And if we go to Washington, Biden's up by 16. He was up in the aggregate by 23, and he only ended up winning the state by 19 points. So that is a 4-point miss in favor of Biden. And so at that point, that puts the state in the likely Democratic column. And if the next state, you see West Virginia 37, you go over here, he was only up by 28. He ended up winning the state by 38. So that's a 10-point miss in favor of Biden. So that puts the state at a plus 47 margin for the former president. You can see here the last states, Wyoming and Wisconsin. You can see here in Wisconsin, the last swing state here, Donald Trump is ahead by 4. However, if you look at the polling aggregate here, you can see Biden was up by 8 and he only barely ended up winning the state by 0.6. So it's about an 8-point miss. So if Donald Trump's up by 4 here, and that's an 8-point miss, Donald Trump's ahead in Wisconsin by about 12 percentage points, according to the latest poll. And the final state, the state of Wyoming, Trump is up by 53. As of right now, Donald Trump had a 31-point lead in the state. He ended up winning it by 43. So that actually makes Wyoming the most Republican state on the map, giving him about a 65 plus Republican victory in the state of Wyoming. And that, guys, is it for the video. Donald Trump wins the election with 319 electoral college votes to Joe Biden's 219 electoral college votes. Now, the only difference between my prediction and this is that they actually have New Hampshire flipping. But other than that, that's literally it. I mean, the margins are off and arguable, but other than that, this basically matches where I have all the states going. And so if you guys did enjoy the video, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell if you're going to subscribe so you don't miss another video that I post. And please make sure to go ahead and follow the Twitter in the description down below, and make sure to join our Discord server so you don't miss our community discussions. And I hope to see you guys very, very soon.